This is one of the world's oldest geological formations, Mount Roraima, located at the junction of Brazil, Guyana and Venezuela. 2,800 miles above sea level, it is a large flat-topped mountain formed about 2 billion years ago, which makes it one of the oldest rocks on Earth. Welcome to Kaleidoscope, where we're positive, daring, different. Today on the show, we meet the DryAgedSteak guy, celebrate the Delan Brothers' praise in song, and take a critical look at the growth lab in Sri Lanka. A huge thank you to our partners for being awesome. Srilanka Live, CDB, The Daily Morning, Park Street Gourmet, Park Street Wines, and Zip Zip. Kaleidoscope is on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you like our show, don't forget, you've got to subscribe and follow.
CDB Hybrid Leasing. Enjoy exclusive interest rate and much more for hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and EV vehicles.
So let's have a look at the week that was on CDB Snapshot. Sri Lanka's overall inflation increases to 4.2% in December, while food inflation too is up to 1.6%. The Ports Authority has handled close to 2 million TEUs in 2023, a 2% increase. Sri Lanka's manufacturing and service sectors failed to sustain November's upturn in December. 408, that's the Guinness World Record set by Mongolia for the most people sliding down an ice slide in 1 hour. The world's 5 richest men have increased their net worth by 114% in the last few years.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Srilanka Life.
Welcome to Srilanka Live News Capsule. President Ranil Wickremesinghe announced a growth lab approach developed by the Harvard Kennedy School of Government to architect Sri Lanka's National Transformation Plan. This would bring together ministers, officials and experts to resolve issues hindering development and plan for development under 4 pillars. The plan, however, is yet to see the light of day. I asked former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, W.A. Wijewardena, whether this will work in the current context. Mr. Wijewardena, do you think Sri Lanka can actually meet the goals of this National Transformation Plan?
Well, of course, one of the problems that Sri Lanka has internally is that we have plans, but our implementation mechanism is very weak. I mean, it happened to the first 5-year plan in 1971 under Mrs. Bandaranaike. Prior to that, in 1959, we had the 10-year plan, which had been designed by Dr. Gamini Korea for Mr. Bandaranaike. And none of these plans had been implemented in Sri Lanka. And the same problem we have with the present plan also.
So the plan was to be presented, as you mentioned, in 2023. It was not, so it should be 2024. But this is an election year. So that means it's going to be a short-term planning year instead of long-term. What happens now?
What would happen is that when we are in an election year, the government as well as the opposition is concerned about winning the election. To win the election, the entirety of the resources within their command, they will divert for the election efforts, not for any long-term planning effort. So as a result, even in 2024, we have a problem that the present government will not be able to implement the transformation plan, design the transformation plan and let alone implementing it, because they will devote the whole time that had been available to them for the purpose of designing on the strategies to win the election. So as a result, the choice is in favor of the elections and not for the long-term plan. So Sri Lanka will lose as a result of that.
So do you think this will ever see the light of day?
In fact, when President Ranil Wickremesinghe was sworn in as the President of the Republic, I thought that he would be able to immediately implement such a plan so that when Sri Lanka goes for elections in 2024, there is a plan which is in place. But that didn't happen. Instead, he was doing the firefighting activities coordinating and consolidating his power within the Pudujana Peramuna. And as a result, and he was inviting the opposition also to join him continuously, which was just a gesture that he made without any concrete plan to get their support. So what we are actually experiencing is the general deficiency in the project and the plan implementation mechanism in Sri Lanka, which is very weak. Now, this doesn't happen in a country like South Korea or even in India. When they have a plan, they actually implement that plan very seriously.
And now for our market news. At the Colombo Stock Exchange, the all-share price index continued its downward trend, with the market dropping by almost 2.5% this week. Oil prices held steady at around $75 per barrel, even as uncertainty in the Red Sea was offset by a drop in demand for crude. Gold prices edged down to $2,000 per ounce as US equity markets surged and dampened interest in safe haven bullion. After surveying nearly 1,500 leaders, the World Economic Forum identified the top global risks in 2024. The most pressing is extreme weather with 66% risk, followed by AI-generated misinformation, political polarization and cost of living crisis. The lowest risk sectors are the bursting of the housing bubble and tech bubble. God bless this dog. People in Mexico take their pets to church on the feast of San Antonio Abad, the patron saint of domestic animals, for blessings and a sprinkling of holy water. He is the DryAgedSteak guy and he's on the menu of Kaleidoscope Let's Talk today. The founder of Clubhouse Steakhouse in London, Chef Azam Riyad, schooled in Sri Lanka, Trinity College to be exact, and is a cricket coach who found a rundown cricket club and decided to open a restaurant. The rest is history. A self-taught meat aficionado turned expert chef, Azam's name is synonymous with DryAgedSteak across the UK and Europe, and his steak is to be tasted, to be experienced. He has been conjuring some magic with those meaty vials at the London Grill at Cinnamon Grand Colombo, and that's where I met him. Azam, welcome. How does it feel to be back in Sri Lanka?
Incredible. Come back homeland, cooking in the most prestigious fine dining restaurant in the country. The feedback has been overwhelming. The comments and everything has been overwhelming, and it's given me a slight. A bit of a push into my glam side of things as well, which is absolutely brilliant. So I'm buzzing with all of this, but we just need to carry through and finish this off in a high. Being back home it's nostalgic.
Why DryAgedSteak? What is it that fascinated you about DryAgedSteak and to make it your signature?
I had to find a way to put food on the table at home. So I'm a cricket coach by trade. That's my main kind of a role. I found these two sauces in France which I fell in love with, and I thought, you know what, I need to bring something back to England which is slightly off the grid, and it all starts with burgers and submarines and everything else. And so when I started doing steaks, I had this pilot who came up to me and said, you need to start preserving your beef. I said, okay, that's a good word, preserving. Okay, let me look into it. Then I found this machine called the DryAger, and that started this whole new ethos of me looking into something very out of my comfort zone, because I was comfortable making small burgers and stuff like that. So this basically gave me an opportunity to take forward my knowledge of beef into another level.
Do you do anything differently to this age-old process?
I put big hinds of beef rather than smaller cuts and getting it through. So I have 7 fridges at the moment, and all of these does something. So we do have fish. So that's something I bought in this year, 2023, around mid-2023 I bought, because I'm the only dry aging fish restaurant in England as well. So it is quite unique in the aspect. So yes, I tend to experiment a bit. I push it to and number of days and just see how the flavor changes and stuff like that. The cooking time, the cooking process changes, the ingredients which are used on the aged beef is processed. It depends on how long they have been in the dry ages. So yes, there is so much things that you can play around with and understand, okay, this is the best time to have it, this is the best way to eat it, and making sure that that translates onto the plate.
So you're a Sri Lankan at heart, but now Sri Lanka was never known for its steak, so to speak. What do you bring back to the table here?
The best part of the dry aging process is there is very less blood on the plate when you cut into that beef. That we Asians love. So I thought, okay, this is something slightly different, and it's in my forte to push it to people from the Asian subcontinent. It's got flavor, it's tender, it's soft, there's no blood. This is something I can enjoy. So that kind of a feedback which I get normally is good. So bringing that to Sri Lanka, I think it was very important that people need to understand what it's all about, and that flavor profile, the sear, the smell when you bring it to the table. It's incredible.
So what's next? What are we to look forward to from you?
Let's try and open a restaurant in Sri Lanka. But I want a bit more vibrance. I want flair. I want music. I want people to come and come into a restaurant thinking, oh wow, okay, we are going in for a night out. So it's not only eating and going home and sleeping. We come here, have a good time, then we go probably to a club next door or something like that. Have a long night instead, rather than just finishing and going home. So nicely dressed, nicely smelling people, then the steak hits your face, the smell, the aroma, everything has to be married together. So if we can create that, I think London Grill will be buzzing every night.
May the meat be with you.
Thank you very much.
And good luck.
Rohan and I, as the Delan Brothers, are happy to be celebrating 15 years of singing together this year. We start off with the Thanksgiving program at the Cathedral of Christ the Living Saviour.
Titled How Great Thou Art, the brothers brought together a collective of heavenly voices and ultra-talented musicians to sing praise.
Collaborating with us at the organ is Maestro Niranjan De Silva, and on the timpani is Neomal Virako. We are grateful to have the choirs of Octave Music Ministry and friends singing with us.